I am interjecting here during Molly O'Brien's lifestyle segment due to a lot taking place this week and the schedule of Pawtucket Mayor Don Grebien around the Pawtucket Red Sox. Now, we did hear from the mayor on Monday, as well as owner Larry Lucchino, as to potential next steps for the stadium, and we've been hearing more about looking at new locations and their plan for it to be a public park. So Mayor Grebien was able to take some time out of his schedule to come down here to the studio. So I'd like to welcome him in right now. Mayor Grebien, come step right in. You've been here before.
Good. Thanks for being here, Kate. Sorry.
I appreciate you coming in. Thanks,
Awesome.
thanks so much for coming in. Obviously, a lot of foot right now. You've been talking to a lot of people. And this, it's hard to believe here we are Thursday, and this was just Monday that Larry Lucchino had come forth and said that they were interested in a public park.
And which was great. I mean, the first thing was Monday was more about Pawtucket. You know what I mean? Talking about all the exciting things that are happening from the commuter rail. And, we have the Isle Brewers and all the stuff that everybody's heard, right? So there are exciting things happening. And could and should the Pawtucket Red Sox be part of that renaissance, if you will, revitalization, and how does that become? So it was more about the bigger picture, and Paw Sox being a little, but the sexiness of the Paw Sox is it's all been out there. We've been talking about it for many years, so we're excited. So we think there's some really good things happening. Larry had been talking to us, and we started to build a very strong relationship with the state, the ballpark, through the evaluation process of McCoy, the study that went on in McCoy. And so we had a lot of opportunity to build those relationships and understanding. And there was a commitment made at that point that they were committed to staying here in Pawtucket, which was clearly one of our big points for me 2 years ago from where we were. We wanted them here in Pawtucket. And then we started talking about what could this be a public facility, right? So everybody thinks when we talk about public facility, they think about public dollars. And clearly there's going to be some skin in the game and have to be those projects to that degree there's going to be. But we have not gotten to that point. So we've been trying to roll this out, from the city's perspective and from the Paw Sox about the big picture. So excitingly, this could become more than a stadium. I think there's 70 or 80 games that they're played there. You could have, concerts. It's next to the national park, so all the synergies there. But I also have the emotional ties we were talking about earlier to McCoy. McCoy has a great history. It's been awesome for our community. I was saying I'm just a big chubby kid. It was the little chubby kid going with my grandfather and my dad and having those dreams that we all go through. So it's trying to figure out all those pieces in the puzzle.
So had a few questions wanted to ask you here today. Obviously, they made the effort in 2015 to look at Providence, and that was the group when it was headed by Jim Skeffington. But now we're talking about a public park, and folks have had some reaction. What do you have to say to folks when they look at this group of ownership for the Pawtucket Red Sox, a collective group of billionaires? Why should taxpayer dollars be going to assist a group of collectively billionaires?
Absolutely, no, and that's a fair question. And if you go back 2 years ago, me, members of my administration, the council, were out advocating that it needs to stay in Pawtucket, right? And it was trying to get. Sometimes they wouldn't even meet with us, right? So there was that sense of arrogance, right? And what really has changed is the fact that we've been able to build that relationship with the state. But there's still that same perception. I don't have that anymore because I've been able to build that because of persistence, because of the passion that I have for the city of Pawtucket. So I think people are always going to have that, right? So at the end of the day, it becomes the value that the citizenship has. You have Pawtucket, then you have Rhode Island, right? Everybody clearly made it known that this was going to be about Rhode Island, and they wanted it to stay in Pawtucket. We're there. They've done that. We looked at, there's always questions, you go back 2 years ago that, and Jim Skeffington, God rest his soul, was Providence. He hit us over the head with it. And then now we're at a point where it's a bigger vision. We've been able to collectively, and a lot because of the input, because of people out there. They've heard that, they've looked at it differently. I think, I was talking to somebody today and they're asking, what's changed? I think what really has changed is, these people now have lived here, have been here, and they start to understand the value that Pawtucket has and what the community has. So it's no longer just it's just a city. It's about a community. They serve on the foundation, Pawtucket Foundation. Larry and a lot of the membership have been out into the community. The community has, even through the tough times where there was attendance was down, and sponsorships were down, are coming back, and people are supporting them, and they're feeling it now. So it's not only that I'm a city, now I think that a lot of that has changed.
You think that relationship building will sort of supersede the fact, again, that folks say, they're worth so much?
No, I don't think that ever is going to be, because in the environment we live in today, with social media and how quick it is, I don't think that ever goes away, right? But I think that what people have to do is, when we were out there fighting to make sure they stayed here, when everybody thought we were crazy, and they were right, we are crazy. But now we want to talk about that bigger picture. And the one thing that I report to, and I say is, if you're talking business, I answer to the residents who elected me this past year, and hopefully will continue to elect me. I have to sell it to them in a transparent process, in a transparent and honest process, right? We're never going to give. I know everybody thinks that government is going to give away the store. This is about investing in an interest, keeping them here in Pawtucket, but having a value, and it has to be a value added. They clearly have made it known that they have recognized that there was mistakes made, that they went about it wrong, and you're trying to be respectful because they are our partners now, but they understand that was the piggish attitude, and I don't think that was what they meant. They're not there yet, so I think that people are going to be pleasantly surprised, and we've made it clear that we're not going to go to the taxpayers for dollars unless we think it's a fair deal. Those negotiations and those discussions have to start happening. And then I hope, and what you will see is, you'll see a transparent process. You'll see it once everybody figures out what the pieces are, whether it's, currently city has McCoy Stadium. We own the land, we own that. We want to own that facility, right? We want to own that. Then start talking about what is the facility. If it's at McCoy, it could be one pricing. If it's at Apex, there could be other factors. If it's at Tidewater, it could be others. They're all different things that come into it. But I think it's important, public access, what it can be more, it's going to be used year-round, and a benefit to the citizens as well.
So those sites, you talk about Tidewater, you talk about Apex, and again, here we are in April 2017. Let's talk a little bit about Apex. We know there's the visibility, we know there's the accessibility, but how much has been looked at? Any issues with contamination on the site? Any issues with CRMC that need to be vetted?
All of that, on either site, is going to have to be vetted, because both could be, right? I would presume, and no, we haven't done those due diligence yet. What we've done is said, okay, it'll fit here, right? And the Paw Sox just unveiled their Fenway model, the internal of Fenway, the skate, and they've said, hey, this is a great design, and we would agree, and it'll fit on both, right? That's the conversations that have to start happening. This is a very fluid process, and so everybody thinks that it happens overnight and the deal's done. It's not. We have to look at all those things, and all of those factors have to be weighed in.
And you do mention that has to be looked at. Do you have any concerns about sort of the time frame that we're at right now? Because let's go back to a couple months ago. The feasibility report from McCoy was released, and the costs about rehabbing it versus tearing it down and reconstructing it. Looking at a whole new facility, I know you talked about trying to bring in some other folks to provide new analysis and eyeballs. How quickly can that be done?
I think what we have to realize is that we're up against a time frame of 2020. And that's where we come up with the Pawtucket's 2020 vision part of it, right? We've got the train station coming in, and again.
Oh, it wasn't because of the lease. That's not the Pawtucket
No, that fit into an individual. So no, that was fine. It was all, but it was really about how do we bring the community and get them engaged, but also we start talking about the time frame. It is going to be a tight time frame, right? The one thing that I will not let happen, because I understand it's my credibility as the mayor of the city, is it's going to be a fast time frame. They want to have an idea by the end of this year. By the end of this session, because they're business folks, right? They're here. They're giving more back than they ever thought they would because of this process and because of people out there who have said these things, right? So they've opened their eyes. They've been part of that process. So I don't want anybody to feel it's rushed, but I think there are going to be things that happen. I think it's going to be a tight time frame, as we were talking earlier. There are other factors that we don't control. You know what I mean? There could be environmental issues as we start the process.
What happens then? What happens, if we end up, getting to the property and then, whoops, there's the stuff that's the issue here.
And I think that's part of the honest discussion. The one thing I've said is, when we went through this evaluation process, right, we had the state sitting at the table, we had the city sitting at the table, and you had the Paw Sox. And that's where a lot of the value was built together. And so I think that we all understand that there are certain things that are out of our control, and that certain things, but we want, my job is as the mayor to make sure I'm protecting the city of Pawtucket. Then I worry about the state, right? It's about the city of Pawtucket. I'm not going to do anything that jeopardizes that, so I come in with that. They're coming into it from ownership. The state's coming in from a different perspective. And that's why, We're hopeful and optimistic we can get something through, not because we're trying to jam it through, but because of the time. They need to know too, because that lease does expire.
And what do you have to say? I mean, stadium aside, if the state wants to give subsidies of 50, 75 million, 100 million, should that be approved by voters?
I mean, it all depends on how the process is, right? It comes to the time frame, right? I think that this is going to be a transparent process. I think that those discussions are going to happen. I mean, depending how there's different ways of doing it. And I think you got to look at, I think what's going to dictate it is really financing, right? So what mechanism are you using? Are you using revenue bonds, regular bonds, right? And I think that everybody's going to have their way in one way or another. I mean, just think about what happened 2 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was no vote out there, but people were heard loud and clear,
Yes.
right? You know what I mean? And I think you're going to have that type of process irregardless. And I think people are watching this, especially because it's been 2 years ago and it was handled so poorly. People are aware. I mean, there's no hiding anything. I said to one of the reporters the other day, I'm not going to put my credibility on the line or my leadership. I'm going to, it's going to be an honest discussion, an honest proposal on the table. There's going to be nothing hitting. It's going to be vetted, whether it goes out to the voters or it's me out there in front of the voters, giving this, I do neighborhood meetings. It's part of the job, that I've elected to do. So it's not, we want to make sure that there's that buy-in.
So, time frame wise, when will we see a proposal?
I wish I could tell you. That's the problem. I wish I could sit here and tell you today. Listen, we want it out there as soon as we can. I mean, now the financial. I mean, it was building the relationship, keeping them here in Pawtucket. Then it was, understanding what the true assessment you needed at McCoy was, right? And I still have there's still a piece of me that hasn't walked away from McCoy yet. So I don't know. I mean, we're here now. We're saying, okay, we'd love to have it all done and wrapped in a bow. I don't know. I mean, those are out of our control. We start having the conversations, you start bringing the financial folks in, and that's not within our control. But we'd love to have it aggressive because we know the longer people are speculating out there, the harder our job becomes.
Now, again, you're the mayor of Pawtucket, from Rhode Island. You're not a member of Augusta Country Club. You don't have a ski chalet in Vail. Again, does any of you have that sort of visceral reaction? We're giving all this money to these very, very wealthy individuals.
I mean, that's always going to be that perception, right? First of all, we have to be honest, right? I mean, clearly they understand that they have to make, as part of this private partnership, they have to make a substantial contribution. They say to us that they're going to do that. They understand that. Like, all the political pressure and all the eyes and ears, they understand that. I don't know what it is. I wish I could tell you because it would end a lot of the speculation. and so, but they clearly know that they have to be really, really invested. My approach from the beginning has always been, the city of Pawtucket has always had skin in the game. Mm. The state has always had skin in the game. It's what's fair and reasonable, right, to that taxpayer. And clearly what came out the last time, messed up. I won't say screwed up because we're on camera. Messed up.
You can say whatever you want, you're mayor.
But messed up, the whole rollout. And so so everybody, especially, with 38 studios, it's Rhode Island. I think that people are passionate about the Poor Sox, right? I think that there's a willingness in people I talk to in the community. There's a willingness and understanding to do something, that there's some skin in the game. Clearly, it's our responsibility to balance it. So it's never going to be outrageous because there's no way that I'm going to jeopardize, my career on that one.
So we're here right now. Again, a lot has happened this week. We're anticipating a lot more to happen in the coming weeks.
Thank you.
Appreciate your accessibility, and I'm sure we'll be talking in the coming
appreciate
weeks.
it. Thank you very much.
Mayor Don Grebien, thanks for coming into
Thank
the studio
you.
today. We'll talk soon. Safe trip back to Pawtucket.
I have to get my visa checked on the way out.
Did you pack a bag? That was Pawtucket Mayor Don Grebien.